Hi everybody, Dan Illman, Mike Beer at beautiful Monmouth Park, getting set for Saturday's Grade 1 Haskell. We have a tremendous undercard as well, and we'll kick things off with race number 5. This is the Grade 3 Matchmaker. Fillies and mares going 1 1/8 on the turf. $300,000 is the purse for this Grade 3. Let's take a look at this field. Shug McGahee has two very intriguing runners. The number 2 Personal Best, a graded stakes winner, but perhaps more effective at longer distances, and surprisingly, who is very consistent and comes off a stakes placing at shorter over this course.
Yeah, surprisingly, I was in the local prep for this race, the Eatontown, last month in the middle of June. She ran fine in there, Dan. She was only second best to consumer spending for Chad Brown, who's also back in this race and who is your morning line favorite. I don't know that consumer spending has some kind of huge advantage on this field, but I guess she's the horse to beat.
Well, we'll throw up the Timeform US pace projector, and I think we can all agree that the number 1 Canisi looks like the main speed in this race. Canisi draws an inside post, has been on the lead in 2 of her last 3 starts, and although Christophe Clement likes to preach that his horses can sit just off of the pace, I think there's no denying Canisi the frontier.
Yeah, she's probably going to go in here, Dan. I mean, it's at least worth pointing out that when she is on the lead in her races, those paces are very, very slow, but I guess this pace could be slow as well.
She's had 3 prior chances against stakes competition. It didn't work out each time, but she's now more mature at 4, and they have adopted this forward style. Maybe she'll be more effective using it against this type of horse. The 2 is Personal Best, and we haven't seen Personal Best since running in late April at Keeneland, where she ran into Warlike Goddess, who's very, very good. I was surprised that Personal Best was so aggressive in that race. She was very forwardly placed, and she wound up tiring in the stretch. Personal Best is going to be turning all the way back in distance. I talked to Shug McGahee earlier today. He said that the layoff was by design. He thinks she's going to run on late here, but they might be looking at a race like the Flower Bowl later this summer.
Yeah, probably stretch her back out at some point, but I didn't think 1 1/8 had to be too short for her, Dan. Her last 4 starts on turf are all 11 or 12 furlongs. She's run pretty well in all of those races. I realized that she sort of backed up in her most recent start down at Keeneland, but Warlike Goddess first, Temple City Terror second. They're 2 of the better long-distance turf mares in the country.
From a class-like standpoint, she fits this race like a glove. The 3 is Tick, 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 Boom. Only 2 for 31 lifetime, but she's banked over $272,000. She just missed last time out at Colonial in a second-level allowance. I do have some class concerns.
It's hard to make a very strong case for her in this race. She was defeated by Canisi off the layoff back in May, but this horse didn't really have a fair chance that day. That pace was super slow.
Keep an eye on the number 4, Gam's Mission, a graded stakes winner at 3, a graded stakes winner last year, and she won her most recent start, a high-level allowance at Keeneland on April the 16th, over a good turf course, and we're expecting a little bit of rain in the area on Friday. This was a nice effort over a couple of next-out winners. The runner-up, Bubble Rock, came back to score with a 91 buyer in a stake, then placed in a grade 3 with a 92. Listed as a vet scratch on June 4th at Churchill, but this horse is upside.
Yeah, I think she does too. Maybe we'll see one more forward move in here, Dan, but I'll tell you what, I don't know if she shows up with her best race. She might not have to improve at all against this field. I think she really fits well in here. She was very progressive as a 3-year-old. It felt like they had to go longer with her in a couple of those major races. It felt like the really long distances don't really work for her. A limited campaign last year, but she picked up another graded stakes win. Now she's 3rd off the layoff this year. She fits very well in this race.
Bipartisanship is up next for Graham Motion. We're going to watch her most recent win. This is at Parks, the PTHA President's Cup. She rallies from off the pace at even money to win. She's rock solid. This is a tougher field.
It's a tougher race than the one that we're watching her win right here. That's for sure. She ran fine in this race. Overall, I think she's pretty good. I think she has a real chance to win this race. I'm a fan of hers. I just like to bet her in races where she's going to be sort of a little bit of a bigger price. And I don't know that 4 to 1 on the morning line is enough to get me that interested in here.
Chad Brown sends out the 6 Consumer Spending, already a graded stakes winner at this distance. She won the Wonder again last year, and she did so over a yielding turf course, so she wouldn't mind any give. Here's her most recent start, the Eatontown. She's 3 wide, chasing that moderate pace. Surprisingly is in the pocket. Consumer Spending for a brief instant gets the jump on, surprisingly, and gets the better of her at the wire. I talked to Chad. He feels this one is rounding back into form.
Yeah, it feels like that's exactly right. That's exactly how you look at her on paper, too. It was actually a pretty long layoff before she returned in that bogey back in May. She ran fine that day. She was better last time. The result, it wasn't a decisive win, Dan. I still thought she just ran the best race that day. She was pretty good as a 3-year-old as well. I think she is the horse to beat here.
Surprisingly, you saw down on on the inside in that replay, the Eatontown. She was the beaten favorite. She was chasing moderate fractions, but so was consumer spending, and consumer spending was giving away ground.
Right.
Shug said maybe if surprisingly got through a little bit quicker, maybe the result would have been different. He's not sure. Neither am I.
I'm not either. I guess it's a reasonable argument to make. I would prefer to make it if it sort of felt like there was going to be a big price discrepancy between the two, and that may not be the case. I'm a fan of Surprisingly's as well. I actually liked her quite a bit going into that Eatontown last time. I think she wound up going favored in there. I personally didn't think she had a huge excuse, but she could win this race.
Top pick time for the Matchmaker. And Mike, you're looking for a little bit of a price. Gam's mission, I think, has a lot of upside. She's already accomplished a lot on the track, and she, as you said, she fits very well with these horses.
Yeah, she's just going to need some kind of a trip in this race, I guess. Then I'm going to hope that she gets one in here. I think this is a good spot for her. I think she will be a fair price in this race, and I put her on top of consumer spending.
And 1 1/8 is a very good distance for her as well. I like consumer spending's tactical speed. I don't think she'll be that far off of Canisi when the field turns for home. And I agree with Chad. I think she's coming back into form. Unfortunately, the price isn't there. It's the Grade 3 Matchmaker at Monmouth on Haskell Saturday. Good luck.